Hello everyone, down here with another video. If you have watched a Donghua or Chinese anime, or read a Chinese web novel or manhua, you are likely to have stumbled onto the Xuanhuan genre. What is this genre all about? What are the origins for its boom in China? These are the questions I will be answering in this video. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. It helps us a ton, so let's get to the video. To begin with, we need to start with the emergence of the internet in China. The emergence of forums gave a new way for people to converge together and talk about their shared interests. One of those interests was literature or novels, but China did not have a thriving literature market, since the process to publish a print book required getting an ISBN from the authorities, which was a bureaucratic process, and it still is to some degree. What came into form at first was forum-like websites that allowed users to share their own stories. One of these was Banyan3, a website that allowed users to share stories of any type. But as it is always the case, the expansion of Banyan3 and novel sharing online websites was the result of a certain number of stories that managed to draw many fans. One of those stories was Date with Death by Lu Youqing. It was a diary following the author's struggle with terminal cancer. It gained many followers and it ended a few months before the death of Lu Youqing in 2000. News of Lu Youqing's death garnered a lot of attention, even appearing in Western news sites at the time. There were many other works that were also popular at the time, but what Date with Death showed was that it was possible for literature to attract a large community of fans together. This is exactly what happened with Xuanhuan in the early 2000s, but it all started with a group of fans of Eastern fantasy, Xuanhuan, that shared their own stories in forums. These fans that knew each other, at least virtually, decided to create a platform that was specifically aimed at people like them, that were fans of Xuanhuan stories that wanted to share their own stories for people to read. Their work resulted in the creation of the website Xuanhuan Wenshui Xiehui, or CMFU.com, short for Chinese Magic Fantasy Union, in 2001. This was not a commercially driven website and it was exclusive for Xuanhuan works, until in 2002 it started accepting works from other genres as well. The website was at this point doing relatively well, even if it was not really monetized to such a great extent. Like in Banyan3, there were a lot of writers eager to share their work in the newly established platform, and of course many more readers. A natural consequence of the expanding community of writers and readers of online literature was that CMFU started to turn to monetization. This happened in 2003 when it did start to offer VIP membership and charge for the latest chapters of the most popular works. And it was also around this period that you start to see the rise of the pioneering works in Xuanhuan literature, such as Jade Dynasty, but also others like Mercenaries Under the Sky, Purple River, and many others. Xuanhuan is a rather encompassing genre, and it is one of the most popular genres in most web novel platforms. This genre is quite flexible. It can include Eastern ideas of Buddhism, Taoism, but also Western magic or science fiction. So it can tap into a large amount of Chinese folklore and literature and storytelling and mix it with various other elements to create an interesting setting. The introduction of a paywall to readers did not drive people away since it was cheap. Paid chapters could be bought with what is equivalent to pennies. However, the large number of readers meant a lot of money could be made from it, and hence writers of novels that became popular could actually become full-time writers. This monetization shift was not instant but gradual, but the success with monetization showed that there was a market for online literature. Seeing that many readers were willing to pay to read these novels, there was a natural movement by new authors to take a chance and publish their own Xuanhuan works. This new legion of authors brought many works of which many stood out and achieved high levels of popularity. For fans of 3D Donghua and web novels, many of these names will be familiar, such as Soulland, Coiling Dragon, Battle Through the Heavens, A Record of a Mortal's Journey to Immortality, and many more. These series can be seen as a second generation of works that followed from the pioneering works, and they established Xuanhuan as the most popular web novel genre. The market potential of CMFU showed attracted the interest of Shanda, a big corporation, that bought out CFMU in 2004 and eventually changed its name to Qidian Starting Point in 2008. The popularity of the website has only grown from there, and it has since ranked in the top most visited websites by Alexa both in China and worldwide. Competitors have emerged, but Qidian, because of the presence of the most popular works there, has managed to keep itself as the market leader in online literature. The competitors of Qidian drew a page of its monetization style, even if some competitors have marketed themselves to different audiences. For instance, Jinjiang or JJWX marketed itself to female readers, and that was why it pivoted to boys' love stories, but also genres such as drama romance stories that appeal to female audiences. Other platforms such as Falu, Zhonghang that emerged had to craft a place for themselves by enticing authors to write in their platforms, by providing better offers for new authors to attract promising stories. And whilst they have managed to establish themselves, Qidian still stands high, especially when it comes to Xuanhuan stories. In regards to the prominent genres in these sites, they do differ. There are genres like xianxia, western fantasy, sci-fi, fan fiction, romance, and many others. Xianxia is a genre that is closely related to Xuanhuan and is also reasonably popular in web novel platforms. It started off as a subset of Xuanhuan that focused more so on Taoist ideas. Xianxia explored Taoist fantasy elements with the more traditional wuxia type story setting, so it is more clearly about cultivation towards immortality. Xianxia found many fans and it has branched out from the wing of Xuanhuan because of its popularity. The popularity of Xuanhuan and Xianxia have much to do with the renewed boom in Taoism and Chinese culture that has re-emerged in China after very tough periods of persecution in the 20th century, especially in periods like the Cultural Revolution. Part of this has been a top-down but also grassroots movement of Chinese nationalism that has led to a greater appreciation of classic Chinese culture. For instance, Kongzi or Confucius, that was staunchly beaten down in China in the 20th century, has recovered that level of respect back, alongside other Chinese poets, writers, and of course Chinese indigenous religion, Taoism. However, I do think there is another and bigger aspect that makes these series successful, aside from the familiar elements and setting for Chinese readers. One key element for the popularity of these series is obviously availability. Being able to read via the internet with a low cost or even at no cost means there is a large audience to tap into, especially in a country that's so huge like China with over 1 billion people, and China has since become the country with the most people in the internet. However, a key aspect apart from availability is that they do act as escapist fantasies. A word that has been associated with many of these novels in China is Yi-Yin or YY, which can be loosely translated as lust of the mind. It does not really refer to any sort of sexual content, but how these novels allow a way for people to escape in a fantasy world and satisfy their desires. This can be shown in Xuanhuan with how main characters in these stories can become ridiculously strong and always find ways to subvert their enemies, and at the same time garner the attention of multiple female characters, at least in many series. For example, those popular series I mentioned, Soland and others share some of these characteristics, such as narratives that are singularly focused on the main character, who are strong or have the absurd potential to become powerful, and they can overcome any obstacle that comes their way. The simple nature of these, alongside the tilted balance to the side of the main character, makes them feel like feel-good stories, because even if there is adversity, it's always built up for a return face-slapping when they're defeated by the main character, eventually. The narrative is in a sense predictable, but it still has a draw because it allows readers to live through a fantasy where the main character is able to satisfy all his desires. Of course, these elements are not exclusive to Xuanhuan. In fact, they are present in many web novels of other genres like boys' love and even novels that are not Chinese in origin, like isekai stories. I think YY or Yi-Yin is an interesting concept that can be used to analyze many forms of media nowadays, so I will be returning to this concept in the future. All these elements explain the way Xuanhuan became a major literature genre within China's internet. Recognizing the mass appeal of these series and the increasing market for comics, animation and games, ACG for short, Shanda, Tencent and other companies partnered and created a new company named China Literature that would handle the IP creation and project licensing of novels from Qitian. This led to the creation of more comic adaptations, but also animation of popular web novels like Soul Land, Battle Through the Heavens and many others. To no one's surprise, most of them have been popular, and the large amount of popular works on up means there are a lot of them, which does give an image that Donghua or Manhua are only cultivation series, but that is an incorrect view. I hope I was able to give an idea of what Xuanhuan is and why there are many series in this genre in Manhua and Donghua. If anyone wants me to explore certain aspects that I have talked about in this video, please leave a comment down below with your suggestion. Do you guys like essay videos like this? I would be very happy to get some feedback. So without further ado, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like and comment down below, and catch you guys later.